Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creativity Unleashed. This is episode 13, and we are going to be installing the purlins. So, over the years, I've done a lot of structures, and the purlins definitely can take a really long time if you don't use all the techniques. And so, over the years, I used to just put them up and then climb around all over the roof, welding them into place, as well as welding them together up there. And so now we always set up horses on the ground, put them all together, as many as we can fit pretty much on the horse in a big bunch, and then we make sure that they're straight. We look down and we can check them with a string line, whatever. Looking down them works just fine. And so then I go and weld out all of one side, like the top side on all of them. And then once we have the top side on all of them welded, we'll flip them, ensure they're straight again, and then weld the next side. And you just repeat that until all four sides are done. And then you can wire brush them, paint them, and it's all finished, ready to go up. Now this building is so long, you're having to still do them in two segments, and we'll have one seam to weld in the middle. So after I have all the purlins installed, we put the gutter up first before the roofing, and that's because I have a design where this just lays on top of the outer purlin, and we rivet it into place, so that way when we put on the metal roofing, we can screw through both sheets. Here you can see how the downspout's done. We're just using PVC as the downspout tubes, since it is more of a warehouse kind of structure. So you won't always necessarily have this much space around your building to be able to just walk the purlin out and lift it up this way. But in our case, there was plenty of room, so we were taking advantage of that. So the Perlin material is galvanized, of course, and it's 1.5 by 3 inches and a wall thickness of about 1.2 millimeters. Each piece of 20 foot, I believe, weighs around 27 pounds. So the three pieces together is a little over 80 pounds. So a bit heavy, but definitely still manageable. So before fixing the purlins into position, it's good to just double check the plumb on your trusses and make sure they're just where you want them. And then you can drive in the self-tapping screws. I'm using pretty heavy self-tapping screws, and that provides plenty of strength for the wind loads and hurricanes and all of that. The spacing for the purlins is based off of that the metal roofing itself shouldn't really span between purlins longer than 1 meter, and so it's just a little bit less than 1 meter apart. One of the big advantages of using a galvanized material is it doesn't get all scraped up when pushing it around like pre-painted material would do. So we've had a really busy day welding and splicing together all of these purlins, and we've lifted them onto the roof now. And they were so long, this building's right now, the roof is 110 feet long. So we're having to do a splice up here on the trusses. So we're about to butt them together and do a butt weld all the way around. And so then we'll just move them into the next positions and we'll work our way up to the top.
We got it right here. The connection.
Also, the galvanized material has a light coating of oil, so it slides really nicely without getting scraped up. So here the galvanized tubing price is usually about 50 cents more for 20 feet, sometimes $1 or $2 depending on the dimension. But the paint prices after COVID for some reason have become extremely expensive, usually more than double the price. And you would be spending unbelievable amounts of money trying to paint this big of a structure and not even considering the time involved. It is definitely not worth it for the most part to use just mild steel when you can get galvanized for a very similar price. It's amazing when you're this close to the equator how quickly it turns from daytime to night. So here you can see the 110 foot long purlin getting walked into place with 3 people and lifted into their positions. We of course have the bump stop at the end.
The light for Augustine. He doesn't
I'm holding the Olight Mini Marauder, and it has 7,000 lumen, and it's amazing how much it can light up the job site with its floodlight.
Excelente, y ahora a jalar los tres. Los tres a la una, dos, tres. A jalar así.
Como 4 pulgadas.
Ya usted sabe, 4 pulgadas, jale para allá.
Oh, ahí llegó. So here you can see the bump stop at work, and that saves a lot of time not needing to measure. So we just are at one of the local little food joints because they forgot about us. They were supposed to bring supper, but everyone disappeared and there's no supper, and I wrote everyone and no one responded, so I go on a little walk and get some local food. Except I don't eat like processed oils really, so I'll just watch. So we found out the next morning that they had made dinner, but they forgot to give it to us or let us know where it was. But after a 14-hour day, it is important to get good exercise in. I wouldn't want to be fat. I could become fat. What would I do about that? I had been sick for several years and went to many doctors all over both the Dominican and America, and they were never able to really help me or figure out what was going on. And it turns out that I was allergic to glyphosate or Roundup that's sprayed on like 90% of food. And since the US government says that it's perfectly safe for human consumption, they don't have to list it on the products. So I was sick for many years, and now I eat mainly steak and eggs that I produce from my chickens, and of course fruits and vegetables that I grow in my garden. And so I found that now I have much more clarity of mind, and also can work way longer. I tend to be able to work 12 hours easily, 10-12 hours a day, and not become very tired out really. And that is a lot of advantage to eating healthily. It's very sad but kind of comical that most of the food in the grocery stores isn't actually like food, and it won't actually do you like any good. You'd be better just simply not to eat it. But it's a lesson that not everyone learns till it's too late. When building a structure, the more things that you can do ahead of time or on the ground usually end up saving a lot of time. So that's like why you would frame a wall on the ground and then stand it up instead of building the wall in position. It just makes a huge difference. So it's Saturday. We've had a very busy week. Most days we've been putting in around 13 hours of work. And we have all the trusses up and half of the purlins up on one side. We just put the last, another corridor up, and we have one more corridor to go to finalize the purlins for the roof. And we'll just have gutters, downspouts, and the actual roofing and a few trim details. So it's pretty exciting. We are going to have a good rest over the weekend, and we'll be back soon. But we'll of course keep you updated. We're going to show you some amazing drone footage and whatnot. I often wonder what it might be like to build this same project with a lot of the modern machinery, maybe having a scissor lift instead of scaffolding, and having a telehandler or a spider crane to be able to lift and move things around would make a huge difference. Doing everything off of ladders and climbing up and down the scaffolding, having to move the scaffolding around, definitely eats up quite a bit of time. But of course, in this country, the taxes in the Dominican are extremely high, and labor costs are not very good. And so when you quote a project like this, you're competing with very cheap labor, and it makes it difficult to ever be able to invest in equipment that would make your life better, safer, and easier. So this wraps up on Saturday. We got all the purlins up, all the trusses up, all the X-braces, and we'll be back next week. Well, I hope you enjoyed the episode and found it really helpful. Remember, if you have any thoughts or questions, leave them down in the comments below, and I will try to get back with you. Catch you all in the next episode. Bye now.